Welcome to Configure Screens, a module of the Wavelink e-learning training course on velocity and specifically the velocity console. Each time you want to move to the next slide, click anywhere on the slide to continue or click the forward arrow shown here. The screens that you import into the velocity console and format using themes and custom screen element styles must be captured, and we learned about that in the Capture Screen module. If you're not familiar with how to capture screens, you should access that module before moving forward here. In this module, we will discuss how to import .wltsc files into the velocity console. Next, we will discuss how to configure the key text fields that confirm what screens to reconfigure. Then, we will do a review of the screen elements and then what unique features are available when editing and creating screen elements. Last, we will talk about the context menu, a pop-up menu that can be made available per screen or globally. Using a screen capture file, you can import the screens associated with your host profile server to a project and stylize individual screen elements for a more unique appearance. If you plan on using only the automated predictive formatting, you don't need to import screens into a project. But for those who want to take advantage of the Velocity console, we will step through how to make it all happen. From the Velocity main console screen, you can either open a new project by clicking on the New Project button in the top right corner, or open an existing project from the listing in the middle pane of the main screen workspace. This will bring you to the host profile screen by default. From the Velocity console menu, click on Screens. From the Screens menu option workspace, the Velocity console is now ready to accept imported screens. From the top middle of the workspace, click on Add Screens. The Velocity console can import, edit, and configure only screens with the .wltsc extension. When you add the screens, the dialog will look directly for that extension. It stands for Wavelink Telnet Screen Capture. In the example, the file Acme Screen Captured Configured is selected. It was built in a previous module. Click on Open after the file is selected. All screens in the file will be deployed to the Screens workspace. The theory of key text is that you can create a screen template rule upon which reformatting changes are based. If other screens contain the selected key text, that screen is automatically reformatted to the style appearing in the template. Key text match is free-form and does not discriminate on column and row, but key text order on the screen matters. In this example, TSK pound must come before aloc. Aloc must come before item, and item must come before scan location. If all these things do not happen in the exact order, the screen will not be selected by the algorithm to be a template. Since the template has been created, any screen that has the key text in the same order will be configured exactly the same. The cursor position is also selected by default as key text. This functionality does discriminate on column and row of the cursor. This allows for a screen with multiple input fields to determine exactly what screen and input is being required. When a screen is added into the Velocity console, key text selections are automatically chosen for the screen with the predefined algorithm built into Velocity. In this example, the TSK colon, aloc colon, item colon, and scan location colon were all selected as key text. The cursor is also selected by default. It is possible to unselect text and the cursor, as we will learn later in the module. If you need to change the key text that was chosen by the predictive algorithm, it is possible to remove the key text designation from one or more fields. To do this, find the field you want to remove the designation, and do a left mouse click anywhere on the field. A menu appears with an X. Click on the X. The key text designation is removed from the field. If you need to add a key text that was not chosen by the predictive algorithm, it is possible to add the key text designation to one or more fields. To do this, find the field you want to add the designation and highlight that field. A menu option appears. The first is Add Key Text. Click the Key Text menu option as shown here. The field will now have a key text designation. The cursor position is selected by default as key text. This functionality does discriminate on column and row of the cursor. This allows for a screen with multiple input fields to determine exactly what screen and input is being required. Later in the module, we will discuss how to add key text to a cursor field if the designation has been lost or changed from the original predictive algorithm. Let's review the screen elements available to an administrator to configure. Each screen consists of multiple elements. Each of these can be edited through the Velocity console, which offers multiple configuration options to create unique or branded styling that is applied via the app's built-in HTML and CSS rendering engine. Elements in the Screen Option workspace are edited on a per-screen basis, meaning the changes you make to a single element won't be applied to all elements of a similar type globally, only the same elements on the screen. It is through the use of themes you can create formatting styles for each element type that is applied across all screens. That was discussed in the Project Settings module. The banner element, when configured, activates a banner that appears on the top of the screen. A banner can consist of an image, banner title, or both. Think of the header element as a title of the working screen that is being displayed. This is the way the user is able to determine just what the screen is looking for. Configuration of the banner and header elements follow all the general predefined styles that were discussed in the Formatting Rules module. The data label element is dynamic. It is a subheader text that is used to label fields. This element allows you to change the label for a Velocity HTML rendered screen, but will not alter the black and green screen version of this label. The data type element is static. It is a subheader text that is used to label fields. The text for this value cannot be altered. Configuration of the data label and data type elements follow all the general predefined styles that were discussed in the Formatting Rules module. The field element defines one or more input fields on a screen. The Velocity client can take input from the keyboard, scanner, or other defined input methods. The menu element will display items in a menu format on the Velocity screen. When one of the menu elements is selected by the user, the corresponding attribute is sent to the process to move forward in the application. Configuration of the field and menu elements follow all the general predefined styles that were discussed in the Formatting Rules module. Let's now review the general edits that can be done to an element. This was also discussed in the Formatting Rules module, but we will take a little time here as a refresher. Each element has its own defined styles associated, as set by Velocity's predictive formatting. We call this element predefined styles. The configurations can be edited by an administrator globally or on each screen. In the Screen Menu Option workspace, elements are edited on a per-screen basis, meaning the changes you make to a single screen element won't be applied to all elements of a similar type globally. Just the same elements on the current screen. Only through the use of themes can you apply formatting edits for each element across all screens. This was discussed in the Project Settings module. The font family specifies which font to use for an element. With this value set, all elements of the same type are subject to the same font family styles. They are serif, sans serif, and monospace. The font size specifies the size of the element's font text. This can be adjusted from 10 to 20 points. The default value is dependent on the element type selected. The font color specifies the color of the visible text for this element. This is the font color only and does not pertain to the background color of the element. The font background color specifies the background color of the element. Be aware that if there is not any contrast with the font color, the text might not be readable to the user. Once the font family, size, color, and background color are configured, you can also configure the style of the font. There is the bold option. Selecting this option bolds the element text. There's the italics option. Selecting this option italicizes the element text. There's the underline option. Selecting this option underlines the element text. By default, none of these options are selected, so they must be user configured. Again, these are configurable attributes that are common to all elements. Now we will discuss some things you can do to screens and screen elements to make the screen more readable and make the user more productive. When working with screen elements, there are 4 options. You can modify a screen element, create a screen element, move a screen element, and reset the whole screen back to the original theme. We will discuss each of these options in the slides ahead. When we modify the elements, we change the configuration that was defined by the predictive algorithm. When you first enter the screen menu options screen, there are some configurations that can be done that are part of the screen. They have to do with the banner element and the screen background color. The banner element is a little different. It can be created as part of a theme or on a screen-by-screen basis. If the banner element was defined as a theme, but is now not wanted on a particular screen, then you can suppress the banner to keep the banner off the screen. Move suppress banner to on, and the theme configured banner is gone. If there's no banner set by a theme, you can also add a banner to a particular screen. Move banner element to on. Configure all the settings such as the title and image file, and the banner will be added. The background color changes the background of the screen. Be sure the color does not hide any of the screen text by making a color that is a direct offset of the text. Here's a black background easily shows the maroon text and the lime input fields, and the white banner text. The field element is also a little different when it comes to editing. Besides the font color and settings, the field element contains a section for keyboard properties. There are 3 properties that can be configured. Display keyboard sets the behavior of the keyboard pop-up when a field element is displayed by the Velocity client. The settings are Show. The keyboard automatically appears when tabbing to the field. Hide. If the keyboard is active, it automatically hides when tabbed to the field. And Disable. Both custom and default keyboards cannot be used when tabbing to the field. The Portrait Keyboard option sets the default custom keyboard to use when the screen is displaying in portrait mode. If left blank, the default custom keyboard is used, which is the topmost keyboard listed on the keyboard panel of the keyboard screen. The Landscape Keyboard option sets the default custom keyboard to use when the screen is displaying in landscape mode. If left blank, the default custom keyboard is used, which is the topmost keyboard listed in the keyboard's panel of the keyboard screen. To modify an element, just highlight the element you want to change. The predictive algorithm tried to attach a value command to each menu text item. Those will be shown when you click on the menu item. There are 2 fields that can be edited. The text field is the text that appears as the menu item. The command fields associate a specific key press with the menu item. When selected, the associated behavior with that key press is sent to the host profile. Accepted commands include the following key presses: numbers, function 1 to function 24, Control dash a single letter, upper or lowercase, and a hex code value. Please review the help documents to learn the exact syntax. To modify all other screen elements, we need to click on the element button on the Screen Options workspace. To change an element from the style selected by the predictive element, we just highlight the element we want to change. In this example, we have login : set to a data label. We want to make it a header, so it is bigger and bolder on the screen. From the element type drop-down menu, select header. The login : element now displays in red and in a bigger font based on the theme created earlier. If a new element is needed on the screen, the Velocity console has the ability to add and arrange the new element anywhere on the screen. To create a new screen element, select an area on the screen. A menu will appear on the screen under the New Element area. Click on New Element arrow. The new element will appear at the bottom of the reformatted screen workspace. It is now ready to be edited and moved where it is needed on the screen. Now that the new unformatted element has been created, it can be moved using a drag and drop motion into the place on the reformatted screen where it is desired. In the example, it will be moved up above the A:: data label. Once moved, you can edit the properties. We edit the properties the same as any other element. When finished, you will see the newly created element on the screen in the correct position. As we learned earlier, the cursor position by default is included as part of the key text selection done by the predictive algorithm. If that designation is cleared or you want to add it back, it is possible using the menu command Add Cursor Zone. In this example, the cursor is not part of the key text algorithm. To add cursor position verification, highlight the length of the cursor field. A menu will appear. Select the Add Cursor Zone. The cursor verification is now added to that screen. Screen elements can be moved at any time. Using a drag and drop motion, we will move the A:: data label down below the item: data label. Notice that no matter what changes are made to the reformatting screen workspace, the host screen information is unchanged. Velocity never makes changes to the original host application. Just makes the screens more readable so the user can be more productive. Another way of moving elements is to combine elements on a line. It is sometimes called spanning. In this example, we will move the input field for the user and the input field for the password with their data labels. This gains real estate as well as makes the screen look cleaner. Configuration mistakes can happen, or you do not like the changes that were made to a specific screen. This is where the reset button comes into play. Anytime you want to erase changes made to a screen, you can click on the reset button. Any changes that were made to the screen outside the parameters of the theme imposed will be erased. The screen looks the same as it did before when you first looked at it. A context menu is an on-screen menu that can be brought up by clicking on the menu icon on the lower left portion of the Velocity client screen. Each time you click on the context menu button, you will see what items or list of items have been configured. In this example, there are no menu items. When you want to add items to the menu, just click on the Add button. The Global Menu button makes items either screen-specific or global. If it is set to off, the menu appears only on the context menu for the current screen. If set to on, the menu item appears on the context menu for every screen. The menu item title is the text that appears as a label for the context menu item. The shortcut command associates a specific key press with a menu item. When selected, the associated behavior that the key press is sent to the host. Accepted commands include the following: numbers, F1 through F24, Control-single, upper or lowercase letter, and a hex code value. Please review the help documents to learn the exact syntax of the shortcut command. When you complete a menu entry, you click on Done. That saves the menu. To continue adding items to your menu, follow the steps of click on Add, select Global or Local, select the menu item title, select the shortcut command until all menu items are completed. If you set a menu item in error at any time, you can highlight the menu option you do not want and then click on Remove. The item will be removed from the list of menu options. The finished menu will be split into two sections: screen menu items, which apply to the local screen, and global menu items, which will appear on all context menus throughout the project. Thank you for listening to Configure Screens, a module of the Wavelink e-learning training course on Velocity, and specifically the Velocity console. You are now ready to move on to the next module. Wavelink is a wholly owned subsidiary of the Landes Corporation. It has offices around the world, so there will always be a convenient office near you. If you would like any more information, please contact your Wavelink sales representative or email us at the address sales@wavelink.com.